The Malaysian English Language Teaching Association, or MELTA as it is commonly known, is Malaysia's oldest national English language teaching association. Founded in 1958, the association has grown significantly over the years. Despite its evolution from the Selangor English Language Teaching Association, as it was first known, the aspirations of the association remain anchored to what is spelled out in our Constitution. We are an association of English language teachers dedicated to advancing English language education. Towards this end, MELTA works with partners in Malaysia as well as overseas. To date, MELTA has formal partnerships with English language teaching associations in Japan, South Korea, the Philippines, Thailand, Mongolia, Indonesia, India, Brunei, Hong Kong, Bangladesh, and Taiwan. These partnerships allow MELTA to engage in continuous dialogue with other English language teaching associations, and in doing so, create opportunities for the professional development of our members on a global scale. Within Malaysia, MELTA is committed to reaching as many English teachers as possible. Towards this goal, we are represented by MELTA chapters made up of dedicated teams of English language practitioners. As a national association, the association activities are managed by several bureaus, namely Bureaus for Training, Research and Development, Publications, Special Projects, Journals, Special Interest Groups, Chapters, and Technologies. The association is only as strong as its members, so we look forward to your support. Join us and let's work towards our shared vision of advancing English language education.
Hello, hi everyone. Very good day to all of you. Welcome to day 3 of the Malta International Conference 2022. First of all, I would like to introduce myself. I'm and you can address me as Amina, and I will be sharing this session with you. Before we start, I would like to encourage all of you to ask questions. You are welcome to use the chat feature on the YouTube channel to ask any burning questions that you have for the presenters. We will try to address the questions in the live session after. Ladies and gentlemen, in today's world, we are bombarded with industrial development, economic enhancement, and progressivism with new technology. And as our world is becoming more and more high-tech, produces more products of our consumer. This leads to many environmental problems due to our overconsumption of resources and over excessive industrial. As teachers, we often find it challenging to instill the ecological element into our students' well-being. We need to create students not only who are literate in terms of the academic or language learning, but we are also responsible to integrate eco-literacy into the curriculum, especially the current CFR. Though CFR provides can-do statements at each level of proficiency to describe a learner's ability, but how can we integrate these can-do statements with eco-literacy to our centennials, the new generation? What is interesting today is our two prominent speakers will show us on how to relate the CEFR can-do statements with the eco-literacy. It gives me great honor to introduce to all of you our speakers for today, Catherine Bilbrough and Harry Jones, and they are the co-founders of ELT Footprint and winners of the 2020 ELTons Award for Innovation and in Teacher Resources. They are two active freelance ELT authors and teacher trainers who have developed materials for language learning. They're going to share with us the idea of eco-literate language learner by looking into the can-do type statements in the CFR. Without further ado, I would like to welcome Catherine Bilbrough and Harry Jones.
Hello, delegates, and welcome to our session on can-do statements for sustainability. My name is Catherine Bilsborough.
And my name's Kerry Jones, and we'd like to thank the organisers for inviting us today to give this plenary talk.
So Kerry and I are co-founders of the ELT Footprint global community. And we'll just share the details here with you so that anybody who hasn't yet joined or become a member can come along and join in the group. We'll tell you a little bit more about this later on in the Q&A session, I'm sure. So just to start, we're going to tell you what the takeaways will be for this session. So three main things. We're going to give you an insight into the origins and the meaning of eco-literacy. Then we are going to give you some examples of can-do statements for sustainability in the ELT classroom. And maybe for you, the most important part or the most practical part will be some activities for a range of ages and levels that you can use with your classrooms, no matter what the age and level of the students. So that's what the plan is today. So Kerry, can you start us off?
Yes, let's start then with this question of what is eco-literacy? Before we answer this question, let's take a closer look at the word literacy itself. And we're going to look at a definition of literacy and to think about what exactly literacy means. So I'm giving you a little bit of time to think about this yourselves as well. And I'm going to share a definition with you now, but I'd just like to ask you to think, first of all, what is your definition of literacy? And I'm sure that you will have been thinking of one or both of these things. So here we have two dictionary definitions of literacy. The first definition is, let's say, the basic definition, the ability to read and write. But then we go beyond this definition of literacy to something which is more sophisticated, more complex, and it involves the knowledge or capability in a particular field or fields. And this is the way the word literacy is used in the term eco-literacy, but we can also think of other literacies, digital literacies, which have become so important in our syllabuses and in our curriculum, visual literacy. I'm sure you can think of a lot of other numerical literacy, for example. We're going to take a closer look at what literate and literacy means in the field of eco-literacy. So before we actually go into the nitty-gritty of what exactly is eco-literacy, let's look at why we might want to focus on eco-literacy at all. Here is an Ngram, a Google Ngram. I don't know if you're familiar with this tool, but it's wonderful. You can type in a word, any word you want, and see the frequency of use of the word. Now, what we can see from this Ngram, sorry, is that the word eco-literacy has shot up in popularity. It started to come onto the scene in the 1980s and then just took this huge rise. The Ngram only takes us as far as 2019, so it doesn't tell us what's happened over the last few years, but intuitively, I would say that it has continued to rise. So it's around, it's common, everybody's interested in it, so this is as good a reason as any to be talking about it today. Kath, I'm going to hand over to you for more details.
Okay, so let's have a think about what it means to be an eco-literate person. And there are lots of definitions for this. Let's have a look at one. So this definition that we're going to show you is from McBride. We will give you the link at the end of the slides so that you can find this yourself. Kerry, if you could move the slide on, please. So an eco-literate person is prepared to be an effective member of sustainable society with well-rounded abilities of head, heart, hands, and spirit, comprising an organic understanding of the world and participatory action within and with the environment. It's quite a comprehensive definition. I particularly like this part about the head, heart, hands, and spirit. And I think this kind of idea, if you like, I'm seeing it more and more in literature, and it taps in to all kinds of pedagogies and issues that we might read about in articles. So this is one of our favorite definitions, if you like, of what it means to be eco-literate. So let's have a look at why we should be addressing eco-literacy in ELT. You might be asking this question yourself. And I'd like to think that at some point in the near future, this question wouldn't need to be even asked. So we've got lots of reasons that we could give you for why we should address eco-literacy in ELT, but we've chosen two quotes by two very different sources to illustrate, if you like, some reasons why. So the first quote is by somebody who might be familiar to many of you, David Crystal, and it comes from 2003, but it's still very much applicable. So he said that Englishes are used in a multitude of contexts to express a diversity of views and narratives in global discourse and are the medium for emerging ideas. So basically what he's saying there is that if people, our students, our learners, want to get involved in global discourse and express a diversity of views and narratives, then they are going to be using English to do so. And that's why we need to teach them the language that they will need to take part. So the next reason, if you like, comes from the Australian National Curriculum. And we like this one as well. It taps into a lot of the ideas that we share. English helps students develop the skills necessary to investigate, analyze, and communicate ideas and information related to sustainability and to advocate, generate, and evaluate actions for sustainable futures. So whereas David Crystal was talking about linguistic skills, if you like, in this quotation we've got here, they're talking more about the skills that we see, 21st century skills, etc., thinking skills, investigation, analysis, communication, etc. All of these skills that we are supposed to be helping our learners to develop. So this is another very good reason why sustainability has a place in ELT.
Thank you, Kath. A little over a year ago, the ELT Footprint community took part in and facilitated an online survey to look into the attitudes of teachers who were already addressing eco-literacy in their classrooms, and with basically two aims in mind. One was to find out what teachers are doing in the classroom, what is the best practice in ELT classrooms when it comes to addressing environmental issues. And secondly was to explore what obstacles might stand in the way of teachers who are keen to include eco-literacy and to encourage environmental awareness in their classrooms. So the ELT Footprint community gave this survey online, and members from over 100 countries took part. And here we have one of the questions that was in the survey. What do you hope to achieve by addressing environmental issues in your ELT classroom? So the first question was really asking, what is your aim? What is your purpose? What are the reasons for addressing environmental issues in the ELT classroom? I'd like you to just stop for a moment and think about maybe what your answers would be to this question, but also what do you think the answers of teachers in general might be? So as you're thinking now, I'm going to show you some typical answers. So these are just answers we've chosen, not at random, but because they typify a lot of the answers to the survey. So here we are. And if you'd like to just take a moment or two to read through them and see if any of these answers strike a chord with you, are any of these the answers that you would give to the question? Okay, and I'd like to maybe point to a couple of the things that we've highlighted here. So first of all, this idea of making environmental issues part of the daily conversation. And I think this echoes the feeling that this has become the topic of discussion, of debate, the #1 global issue. And of course, it's part of our conversations. So certainly, I know for me locally, I'm sure for Kath, it's the same thing. In our part of the world at the moment, we're going through a horribly hot summer. And this means that it is part of the daily conversation. And of course, as language teachers, we want the daily conversation in our classroom to echo the daily conversations outside the classroom. But also there's this idea of giving our learners the tools that they need in order to be able to have this conversation, to be able to efficiently and effectively take part in that conversation. Other things to highlight here: raising awareness, helping students to make a real difference, making the issues relevant to the students. And this last one, I love this: to foster a genuine respect and insight into the issues and encourage awareness and positive action, not only with students, but also with this idea that as teachers, we also influence the people that we work with. So this was the first question. And this is the second question. take a moment to read the question and maybe think about your answer, or the answers that you think teachers might give in general, or in your context. What kind of answers do you think were given to this question in the survey? So, what factors inhibit teachers from addressing environmental issues? Again, we chose a few answers that were typical of the answers in the survey. Okay, if you'd like to take a moment to just read through the answers and see if they were what you were thinking of, if there are any words that are echoed from your thoughts. So one of the words that we've highlighted here is fear. And I think a lot of teachers are fearful when they're addressing the environmental issues in the classroom. And the fear, I think, is two-sided. First of all is this idea of not being relevant to the goals of the course. And the second fear is the size of the topic. So not knowing where to start, what to cover, how to cover it. This feeling maybe of not being an expert in the field. And I think both of these things come together in this idea of there being no clear framework to guide teachers as to what to address and how to address it. So these were the results from the survey, with both the reasons why teachers feel it's really important to address environmental issues and also what might be holding them back.
So I'm going to pick up on that last point there about not having a clear framework. Teachers need frameworks. We want something to support us, if you like, and to validate what we're doing in the classroom. So let's explore a framework. We're going to look at a simple framework from a secondary school context in the United States. But there are lots of frameworks in existence. And we're going to look at this framework and we're going to see how we can adapt it to an ELT context. So take a look at the framework we've got on the screen there. And it's a competencies-based framework, as you can see, for ecoliteracy. And it highlights there 5 competencies that are desirable for the learners to outcomes, if you like. So articulate what unsustainability and sustainability are and their importance, evaluate, etc. We've got these verbs again that come up again and again in all competencies-based frameworks, okay? And again, the same kind of ideas coming up here as came up in the answers to that survey. So the last one here, imagine actionable ways to address issues of unsustainability. So as I've said, this is one framework. You could actually look for other frameworks from other countries, and you might like to go to your country's framework, your national curriculum, if you like, and do a search for sustainability and see what comes up. And you might have something similar in your national curriculum. So we've got the framework here. It already exists. We don't have to create it ourselves. How can we turn this into can-do statements? So let's have a look how we can turn a competency to a can-do statement. We've got one example here from that list we just saw. And the competency is articulate what unsustainability and sustainability are and their importance. And we can simply change the word in here and make it a can-do statement. So can understand and explain the concept of sustainability and give concrete examples. So here we can see the 6 can-do statements, which have been converted from the competencies. And when we see them in this way, we can see how the language functions come into play. If you have a look at the words that we've put in bold there, okay? And this is where we can see how we can use these statements as learning outcomes for language lessons, for projects, language lessons, and whatever we want to do in the classroom. Okay, so they're the typical things like understand, explain, give examples. And this is where we will be teaching the language that our students need in order to explain, give examples, etc. So I'll give you a couple of seconds to look at those 6 can-do statements, and then I'm going to hand over to Kerry, and she is going to choose one of these statements and show us what we can do with it in practical terms. Over to you, Kerry.
Thanks, Kath. So we're going to look at one of these statements. If you look at the bottom left corner there, this is the statement that we're going to be looking at. My slides are stuck, Kath. Okay. Sorry, Oscar, edit. So this is the statement that we're going to be looking at to understand and explain the concept of greenwashing and give simple examples. Here we're going to look at how we bring together both sides of this equation. We have an eco-literacy can-do statement and focus, but we also have a very strong linguistic focus. So we can see that going back to the obstacles and the fears of the teachers in the survey, this makes it a very relevant lesson for a language classroom. So we can tick the relevance box, we can tick the importance for our students box. We can also tick the importance for eco-literacy and our knowledge of the world in general. So let's take a closer look at greenwashing. If I was doing this with a class of students, my first step in the lesson would be to ask the students to define the term greenwashing. Now, I've been in classes where most of the students knew exactly what it was, and it was just a linguistic exercise for them to be able to define it as well as possible. But I've also been in classes where no one had any idea what greenwashing was. So as a backup, I have this definition from the Greenpeace website, which the students can compare with their own definition, and we can maybe merge the two, or those students who weren't so sure of what it was can learn about what greenwashing is. And from this definition, so an explanation of what greenwashing is, we move on to examples. So the definition was taken from this article on the Greenpeace website, and this is the headline of the article. We are living in a golden age of, yes, greenwash. Okay, so there are some examples given here in the subtitle. Carbon neutral flights to net zero bacon. Dishonest green PR is on the rise. And I have to say that although I drew up this lesson a year ago and I've used it quite a few times since, I've noticed over the last months and weeks and even days that greenwashing is in the headlines, in the news more and more and more. So I think that students would be more than capable of coming up with a few more of their own examples of greenwashing. And so this would be the next step in the lesson for me, would be to ask my students to identify examples, to look at the examples that are given here. Maybe we could discuss carbon neutral flights. Why is that greenwashing? can a flight be carbon neutral? What exactly does carbon neutral mean? What about net zero bacon? Is it possible to have a net zero bacon? What does net zero mean? And so we start to explore the language and the concepts around greenwashing. This is one of my favorite activities, is to collect some slogans from the greenwashing culprits, the criminals of greenwash. So here you have 3 slogans that have been used in advertising campaigns, international, global advertising campaigns. They come from 4 different industries and some famous companies, which I will not name, but you may recognize them. So I'd like you to just have a look at these slogans and see if you can spot the industry. This is what I'd ask my students to do. So, reimagining energy. Every drop is green. Don't let fashion go to waste. Lowest fares, lowest emissions. So the first one, I'm sure you all have guessed, comes from an energy company, the energy industry, in fact, the fossil fuel industry. And here the greenwashing is because this particular company used this as their slogan, but in fact, they were using less than 3% of their annual budget to reimagine energy with using renewable energy and not fossil fuels. This company was taken to court and they were found guilty and were not allowed to use the slogan anymore. Every drop is green comes from water, mineral water. And the irony of this particular slogan is that the mineral water, which was being bottled in plastic bottles, was being taken from an island where 20% of the people had no access to clean drinking water. So you let that sink in. That's a wonderful example of greenwashing. The next one is easy again. Here again, it was a major global fast fashion company, which was running a very small campaign on the side, Don't Let Fashion Go to Waste, which was encouraging people to bring in their secondhand clothes and donate them in the shop. But this was such a tiny amount that was happening that, again, it was that idea of a quick brush of green paint and a publicity campaign to go with it. And the last one, yes, it's an airline company. And oh, I'm guessing you might be able to guess which airline company used this as their slogan, the lowest emissions, because they were dividing the emissions by the number of passengers that they had on their flights and doing some kind of mathematical magic to make it appear that they were the only green company. So here again, you can see the fun that we can have in choosing slogans, guessing where the slogans come from, diving behind the slogans. But linguistically, what I would like, after discussing these slogans with my students, I would ask them to then summarize the discussion using a framework such as this slogan from X company is an excellent example of greenwashing because, and then ... they would need to complete the sentence. So they would write a summary of their discussion, their research on the slogans using this linguistic framework, and therefore helping them to become better at articulating first of all, what greenwashing is, and then to give simple examples. Over to you, Kath, for another example.
Yeah, great. I think that the idea that you just shared there, Kerry, would be very good for teenagers, older students. I can see it working in lots of contexts. And yeah, let's have a little look at ecoliteracy now with younger learners, with children. Because these ideas, to use can-do statements, work across all age groups and all levels. So when we were preparing these slides, we drew up a list of some can-do statements that we could use with primary, with children. Okay, so just a few examples. And let's have a look at them. I can ask and answer questions about recycling. I can understand a simple video about saving water. I can write some ideas for how to look after nature. I can read and understand a story about local wildlife. What we've done here, we've imitated some of the can-do statements that you normally see that are not connected necessarily to ecoliteracy. And we've used the same verbs again, and they tap into the 4 skills here. We've got a speaking one, a listening one, a writing one, and a reading one. Okay, we could have any number of can-do statements. So what we're going to do now, we're going to have a look at an activity in a minute that we can do with primary children, or indeed older, less learners. And we're going to see which of these can-do statements it might link to. So keep these statements in mind, and let's have a little look at this activity that you could try out with your classes. Okay, you could use the exact same one, or you could make your own. Okay, we've chosen this activity because it is, I imagine, a very familiar activity for many of you. Okay, find someone who. So the idea is this is a worksheet, and each student will have a copy of this worksheet, and they write their name at the top, and then they have to ask and answer questions to complete the table. And they have to write at least 10 different names in the boxes. Ask a second question each time, write some extra information. So this is a mingling activity, and the children will be speaking to the learners around them, to their friends, taking turns to ask and answer. Of course, the beauty of this particular activity is that they are going to be repeating the questions and repeating the answers several times. And that's where they'll be working on their fluency, their accuracy. They'll be practicing asking these questions. So this has been written to deal with ecoliteracy. Okay, so the topic is ecoliteracy, eco things. And if we have a look at it, all of these words, if you look at the words that are in bold, they all begin with RE. Yes, so we've got repurpose, recycle, reduce, refuse, reuse, remember, respect, repair, etc. Most primary children will know the 3 R's: reduce, recycle, reuse. Some of them might know more of these words, but it's just a great idea of expanding their existing knowledge, if you like. So which can-do statement does this lesson support? Imagine that you do this in class, and then at the end of it, which can-do statement can the children complete or write? You've probably guessed it by now, so we'll move on and look at the answer, if you like. So I can ask and answer questions about recycling. So as you can see, it's very simple to build in can-do statements with what you're working with in the classroom. So find an activity, create an activity which has sustainability as its focus, and then think about the can-do statements that, think of them in terms of lesson objectives, what you want your children to achieve by the end of the lesson. And then something to do with speaking skills, writing skills, etc. So with the next one there, I can understand a simple video about saving water. If you have a video about animals in danger of extinction, obviously you just change the wording in this can-do statements. You can write your own can-do statements. You can write the ones that suit your materials and your resources and that fit in with your curriculum, because as Kerry said earlier on, this is something we should be doing on a daily basis. It's not something that we should be doing, you know, once a week or once a month. This can be built into what you're already doing in class with your students, with your learners. So let's just have a look at one more at the end. I can read and understand a story about local wildlife. So again, you'll have stories that you read in class with your students. You'll have storybooks. There are lots of fantastic storybooks out there and picture books that are related to environmental issues. And they're a great way of teaching the language for developing eco-literacy skills, and also you can extract and create a list of can-do statements that your learners, your primary children, can then write and tick off at the end of the day and get a real sense of achievement, because it's not only, as Kerry said, is we're doing two things here, aren't we? We're developing the linguistic skills and the eco-literacy skills. So I'm going to hand you back to Kerry to talk us through some of the links and references that we've got on the next slide, things that we've referred to.
Okay, so the first link that we have links back, in fact, very closely to Kath's lesson, because this is a link to a collection of ideas and activities which follow a number of can-do statements similar to the ones that we've been looking at today. And so this comes from the British Council site. It's the Teaching English site for the British Council, and part of their current campaign to teach about the climate crisis in the English language classroom. And you can see that this link in particular links to activities for low resource contexts, because each of the activities that they have are designed for use with both low resource contexts and high-tech contexts. So there's something for everyone, and we highly recommend having a look at that. The next link is the link to the McBride article that we quoted earlier in the session when Kath was talking about what it is to be an eco-literate person. If you're interested at all in looking at the history of eco-literacy, environmental literacy, this is a great review article. It also has links to a number of frameworks, not linguistic frameworks, but eco frameworks. And it's interesting to see all of the different ways that frameworks have developed, but also they're a fantastic resource for us as language teachers to borrow some of those competencies and take them on board and convert them into really useful, practical can-do statements for our classrooms. The next link is to the Australian curriculum, where, again, we took a quote from there, which is, although in the Australian curriculum, they're looking at English as the first language, also in the foreign languages section of the curriculum, the wording is echoed exactly the same. So this importance of communication and concepts working together, so that really the language can't be separated from the content. And that's why the English language teaching classroom is the perfect place for eco-literacy. The two things marry so well. The next link is to the American school, which had experimented in creating its own competencies framework, which it had outline for a particular class and had looked at both at how to teach and how to assess the competencies. So it's interesting that the framework that we showed you was how this college actually went about not only introducing and addressing ecoliteracy in the classroom, but also setting up a rubric of assessment so that they could see to what extent their students were progressing with their ecoliteracy. And finally, two more. One is a link to the Greenpeace article, which I took for the lesson on greenwashing, with the definition in the headline. And finally, a short blog post by Kath and myself on the ELT Footprint website and blog, talking about how we can marry ELT and eco through can-do statements. So the name of that blog post is ELT Can-Do Eco. And also we'd like to invite you to explore our website and our blog, which you can find at eltfootprint.org. And once again, I'd like to repeat Kath's invitation for anybody who isn't already a member of the ELT Footprint community to come and have a look. You'll find us on Facebook, on Twitter, on LinkedIn, and we're so happy to welcome any new members. So I think that's time for us to say thank you for following us and the recording. And we will be with you for a question and answer session.
Yeah, I just
Hello. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, Catherine and Carrie, for joining live with us today at the 30th Malta International Conference. We are happy to have you live, with our participants. Just to double check, how's my voice? Is it clear for everyone? Hopefully it's okay. Right, thank you for addressing this interesting and illuminating topic, Kate and Carrie. I think I can't agree with you more. It's totally important for us to develop the proficiency in the target language as well as to develop environmentally conscious characters in our students. Now let's check the chat box. We have quite a number of questions here. From Kit Wan, he's a teacher. Okay, he's interested in instilling this eco literacy into our CFR framework. How do we get teachers to be eco-literate themselves? That's a very good question. Anybody would like to address this question?
I'm happy to try. Thank you for the question. First of all, it's great to have so much interest, and questioning is we like it. We like it when our students ask questions, and we like it when teachers ask questions. It's a good question because, of course, if we feel strongly about sustainability and eco-literacy, we kind of expect everybody else to feel the same way, but sometimes they don't. And I think the important thing is to get into discussions and to respectfully share ideas and try to convince people of the importance of eco-literacy. I would suggest that a good starting point is the ELT Footprint group, because we have discussions, we post blog, we share blog posts, etc. And we can provide information and things like evidence from research about the growing concern amongst educators and the need, if you like, for preparing our students to be able to take part in global discussions. We are English teachers, and the very first thing that we need to consider is what English do our students need to be able to function completely and take part in everything that's going on around the world. And I always come from this starting point. Whatever your political ideas or your beliefs, we need to put our students first and give them the language that they need. So I think that's my short answer.
Thank you, Kate. Do you have anything to add, Carrie?
I think Kath has answered that question very, very fully, actually. I think she said exactly what I would have said.
Okay, thank you. Yes, we teachers are the most important people in integrating eco-literacy to our students, right? Next question comes from Xiong Han Si. How can an eco-literate framework deal with the individuation of responsibility? Now, maybe Kate can address this time.
Okay, this is a very interesting question. I'm curious about the individuation of responsibility. I think that I think we can address both individual and corporate and government responsibility, and I think that all three of these aspects are interesting to explore. I think that exploring issues, exploring topics is what we're supposed to be doing with our students in the classroom. I don't think we should be stressing one aspect more than another. We should be helping maybe our students to navigate the world of eco literacy in English, because we are language teachers, and I think what we are also is leaders in entering that particular discourse community and help holding our students' hands as they learn how to be part of that discourse community, and they learn how to find information about all of these aspects. So I think sometimes we overstress the individuation of responsibility, and sometimes it can lay very heavily on people's shoulders. We have to be very wary of eco anxiety, especially with younger students. And so, one of the things that we can do, I think, is share projects which show positive action being taken, which show positive consequences of actions. That can build hope by also asking our students to take action. So in that way, yes, we can also include individual responsibility into projects in the classroom, whether that be a simple cleanup project or looking at how to save energy within the classroom itself. There are all kinds of ways that we can bring eco-literacy directly into the classroom, take action, and help people feel some hope about the subject.
Thank you, Carrie. Now, actually, we have lots of questions in the chat box, but then in order to save time, because we have a closing ceremony coming soon, we have to save these questions, and probably we will be happy later on in the near future. You might want to come in person and share more of the ELT print work and share with us in person while in Malaysia. Yeah, okay. So on behalf of the organizing committee, I would like to thank both speakers, Catherine Bilbro and Carrie Jones from ELT Footprint, for this very insightful sharing with all of our audience in the 30th Malta conference this year. And for ladies and gentlemen, do not go away. Stay tuned in this channel, yeah, because we are going to go for our closing ceremony, the 2-day conference closing ceremony. I'm going to hand over the session to Malta Vice President Dr. Preman Nair for the closing ceremony of the 30th Malta International Conference. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Hello, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the closing ceremony of the 30th Malta International Conference. We are truly honored to have you here with us throughout the 2 days of the conference, and we hope that you have gained valuable insights on the various plenary workshops and papers presented by various presenters from the education fraternity. Before we begin, a gentle reminder to scan the following QR code for your attendance and later for the feedback form, and the link is also made available in the chat box. All right, now let us begin by inviting the President of Malta, Associate Professor Dr. Ramesh Nair, to give us his closing speech. Over to you, Dr. Ramesh.
Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of yet another Malta International Conference. An online conference certainly has some advantages. For you, the delegates, it means that you're able to follow the conference from the comfort of your homes. There is less need to plan and prepare. However, I know that you miss the opportunity to meet face to face, to mingle with friends, both old and new. There's something exhilarating about rushing from one room to another to listen to presentations and to participate in live forums and plenary presentations. Nevertheless, it is our hope that you have had moments at this conference which you will recall as you return to your English language classrooms. Perhaps there have been ideas presented by our speakers which you may want to try yourselves. Perhaps there have been presentations which now motivate you to come next year and present a paper yourself. As I said at the opening, we hope that our next conference will be one where we get to meet face to face. Do visit Malta's website and like us on Facebook so that you can keep updated with Malta events. In December this year, Malta brings you the 11th Malta International Research Conference in English Language Education. If you are postgraduate or undergraduate students, or if you are a teacher who has carried out a classroom action research project, join us at this event and be recognized with gold, silver, and bronze awards for your work. I would like to take this opportunity to thank the many members of the organizing committee who volunteered their precious time to ensure that this conference happened. I also thank the experts who served as judges in the many competitions which ran during this conference. I hope the winners are now driven to continue on your professional development journey. I would also like to thank our main sponsor, Edpuzzle Incorporated, as well as our award sponsors, University Bookstore and Pearson, for their support. Thank you, everyone, and we look forward to welcoming you to the 31st Malta International Conference next year.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ramesh. We now come to the award giving ceremony. I would like to welcome the Malta Vice President 1 to announce the winners for the Basil Vijaya Surya Award for the Best Malaysian Teacher Paper Presenters for the 30th Malaysia International Conference. Please welcome Dr. Chia Swee Yee.
Thank you, Dr. Prema. And now is the exciting moment of results announcement. The Basil Vijaya Surya Best Teacher Presenter Award is named after Malta's first president, the late Dr. Basil Vijaya Surya. The best Malaysian teacher paper presenters at the Malta International Conference will be recognized with this award this year. The award is given to the best paper presentation for each of the 4 tracks. Ladies and gentlemen, the winner for track 1, Teacher Professional Development, is Wong Kian Yong from SJKC Jen Malacca with the paper presentation on exploring the teaching of writing through a professional learning community. Congratulations. The winner for track 2, Pedagogy, is Nur Atika Ismail from Sekolah Menengah Sains, Kota Tinggi, Johor, with her paper presentation on Think Like a Toastmaster, a practical approach to overcome speech anxiety amongst SPM 2021 candidates. Congratulations, Teacher Nur Atika. The winner for track 3, Creativity in Language Learning, is Aisha binti Haji Osman from SMK Keladi Form 6 Center, Kedah, with her paper presentation on Edu TikTok, Do It Yourself, and 3R Project for Oral Presentation. Finally, the winner for track 4, Materials Adaptation, is Chong Zi Jin from SMK Lake Sarawak with the paper presentation on local root and global fruit, glocalization of ELT materials. Congratulations to all the 4 track winners for the 2022 Basil Wijayasuriya Award. Back to you, Dr. Prema.
Sorry, thank you very much, Dr. Sui, and congratulations once again to all winners. The 2-day conference is indeed a memorable one for all of us, where all the talented pool of educators get together to share their ideas and innovations, besides getting to know each other virtually. No one will disagree with this statement that excellence is never an accident. It is a result of high intention, sincere effort, intelligent direction, skillful execution, and vision to see obstacles as opportunities that brought us together under this one platform. On behalf of Malta, I would like to congratulate each one of you for your presence have and will motivate many to share their expertise that could benefit many in years to come. Allow me to recite a poem that is very dear to me. I love equally my red, white, yellow, purple, and beige hibiscus, each unique, each variant, each impeccable, none the fairer, none the better, as beautiful and desired. All I tend, all I nurture, all I gaze upon with full requited love. I cannot which arrive first into my garden. This conference will not be realized without great dedication coming from various awesome people who have come forward to assist us. Malta would like to thank the conference committees who have sacrificed their time and sleep, I would say, to ensure everything will be well taken care of. You have proven that we are more than an organization. We are a family, like a beautiful garden filled with colorful flowers. Please give a big round of applause to all the volunteers who have given their time, effort, dedication, and so much more to make this event a success. And another big round of applause to our generous sponsors, especially our main sponsor at Puzzle, followed by UBSM and Pearson PTE. And special thank to the Ministry of Education Malaysia. Thank you for being a great audience today. I hope everyone has savored each moment of the conference to the fullest, and we sincerely wish to meet you next year. Till we meet again, goodbye from Malta and take care. Bye. Goodbye, everyone.